to write down as many measures of success that you can come up with. For Sunday mornings, your ministry, how do you measure success on Sunday mornings? To you, what's a win for a Sunday? And I'm just going to give you about a minute more just to jot down some. We're actually going to write some of these on the board. So if I could have some people just tell me what are some of the successes that you came up with, some different things that you thought of.
Greater connection with the children.
Okay. So a greater connection with the children.
Or a deeper connection.
All right.
That they felt loved and protected.
All right. I saw another hand. Kathy?
Yeah, well, just them opening up and sharing their heart.
Okay.
Yes.
Like when, like whatever the discussion is that day, when they're able to bring up something in their lives that they can put that towards.
Okay, so like a life application. How about any of the preschool teachers? Do you guys have any, Cindy?
When I teach my lesson and I have a little, afterward we do a review. And if I can get them to answer the questions, it's very short and very brief, but it's like, I feel like I've actually did something that they, or the way they taught it, they actually can remember the lesson.
So you know that they're comprehending
Exactly.
what they're learning. Very good. Ed?
Just an increase in like fruit of the spirit in the kids,
Okay.
like a greater growth in them each time you
Yeah.
see them.
All right. Kathy?
Salvation.
All right. Salvation. All right. Anyone else want to share? Terry?
Reaching out to the students allows them to see our faith in action, so we mimic them
Okay.
how we should act, and they should act.
Okay, so like sharing your own, kind of sharing your own faith and they can
Yeah.
follow. Okay.
Being an example.
Oh, being an example.
And
I
by
should have
being
wrote
good
that.
teaching, they see that our faith is in action.
Yeah. All right, I'll take
It's okay.
just a couple more. Any more?
I just put, I mean, it sounds simple, but just participation.
From the kids?
Yeah,
Okay.
especially, you know, in like those younger groups. That might be a little bit hard for them to, you know, retain information. So even just getting them to respond and answer questions.
Yeah.
I think is a success.
Very good. All right. So what I want you to do now is to, using these things that we've kind of come up with, or you might have come up with a couple more of your own, I want you to just turn to someone next to you and share a moment or a success story over this past year that kind of stands out to you. Maybe it was a connection you made with a kid or a lesson that you felt went really well, they really comprehended. So just take a moment to share with someone next to you one of those success stories.
Just like you.
Time today. I know service ran a little longer, so we're going to keep moving. You can share your stories, continue to share them with each other. I think that really helps to motivate us when we do hear those things. I know for a lot of you, you might be spending time with kids and you don't always get to see that aha moment or success story. You know, another teacher gets to see it. So it's important to share that with one another so that you know what's happening with the kids. For instance, I know just in the past month, 2 of our second service kids have accepted Jesus and both are being baptized next month. Both Adriana and Teresa, you know, the 2 little cuties that are always together. So it's so sweet, it's so awesome. And those are things that you might not get to hear all the time if you're not in here all the time. So we wrote down some measures of success, and that's what we're talking about today. And how we measure success in our ministry should line up with the mission and vision of Kaleidoscope Kids. Does anyone here know the mission statement of Kaleidoscope Kids? That's what I figured. I'm like, I really felt like we needed to teach on this time because I thought how we measure success should line up with our mission statement, and if we don't even know it, how do we know what success is? And so the mission of Kaleidoscope Kids is to raise kids to reflect the light of the sun. And I have a little something for each of you to remember that. We're Kaleidoscope Kids, and the way a kaleidoscope works, if you've ever been interested to take one apart or look at it, it's mirrors that are on the inside, and they reflect the little jewels or sequins or whatever's on the inside of the kaleidoscope. And so as Kaleidoscope Kids, we're teaching our kids and raising them to reflect Jesus, the light of the sun. And so I have a little mirror for each of you to take home today. And it just says on the back, thank you for reflecting the light of the sun to our children. So it's something that you can remember, you can put it somewhere where you're going to see it and remember to reflect Jesus. And just remember what you're doing and to know that you're appreciated, that I very much appreciate each one of you. So I have those for you to take home with you today. So our mission statement is to raise kids to reflect the light of the sun. But it goes even further than that with our vision. How do we do that? How do we raise kids to reflect the light of the sun? Well, a few years ago we came up with using the acronym REFLECT, our vision. And so we reach kids and equip parents. It's very important to me to do both, reach kids and equip parents, through fellowship, which includes relationship, building relationships with them, listening to God, prayer, hearing God's voice, evangelism, which isn't just outreach outside of our walls, but it's also the salvation. It's bringing the gospel to our children that are here. Christian service, having them serve others, do acts of service, and teaching truth, teaching the Word of God. And so, to me, when I'm looking for the win or how I measure success, I line it up to our mission and vision. Did we accomplish one of these things, multiple tiers, or all of them? If they're being met, then to me that's a success. If there's an area, though, that's lacking, we need to evaluate it and think, how can we do it better? And so I wanted to share with you just a short little teaching on how we need to align ourselves with God's definition of success. I'm really excited, to see your measures of success, because I agree with them. I think these are awesome things that we should be doing with the kids, changes that we should see in the kids. I don't know if anyone put it on their paper, but maybe just didn't feel like saying it, but I thought it was interesting. No one said anything about numbers, how many kids we have in the seats. A lot of people measure success by that. How many kids, how many kids are in their class, or how many kids are coming on a weekly basis. A lot of people measure success that way, and I have to say that that's not one of our goals. Isn't just to fill seats, and it's about building relationships with the kids and seeing that life change. If you put numbers, that's okay, because that means we're doing something right? We are reaching kids, they're coming. It's a great marker for evaluating what we're doing, but to me it's not success. So I'm just I was interested to see that didn't show up on the board. So we need to align ourselves with God's definition of success, and I'm using the book here. It's called The Eric Trap, 5 Things Every Leader Has to Get Right. It's by Jim Weidman, one of my favorite children's ministry authors. But one of the chapters, they give 3 things that God uses to define success. And 3 ways to align ourselves with God's definition of success. The first one is to strive spiritually. If we want to align ourselves with God, we need to strive spiritually. We need to be growing. Are we leading in our own strength? And of course I'm talking about, with you working with children. Are you doing it out of your own abilities, out of your own strength, or is God pushing you to go further, and the only way you're doing it is because the Holy Spirit is giving you the ability to do it? We must feed ourselves daily, not just on Sundays, especially if we are feeding others. I heard another children's pastor one time tell me, the reason we can't get people to serve on Sundays is because that's the only day they eat. That is the day of their feast. And if we're not eating throughout the week, we're starving by the time we get to Sunday. And who wants to give that up? That's your nourishment. But if we are daily feeding ourselves, if we're in the Word, listening to sermons, you know, the Sunday sermons go up on the website. First Services is, I guarantee, already up on our website. That's how quick they go up there. And so you can be listening to those throughout the week. You can be, you know, in your Word praying. If you're feeding yourselves daily, it's not as big of a sacrifice to give up a service on Sunday to serve others and to feed others. If you're well fed, you're able to share with those in need. So we have to make sure that we are striving spiritually, that we're keeping ourselves nourished, but we're also pushing ourselves and not just doing in our own strengths, but using the power of the Holy Spirit. The second way we can align ourselves is to care for the flock. Jesus, commanded Peter to take care of his sheep, right? And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We are all shepherds in this room to the kids. So in order to care for the flock, number one, we have to identify who they are. Who is our flock? For you, is it your entire class? Maybe it's, if you lead a small group, it's just that small group of kids. Identify who your flock is and who you're serving, who you're taking care of. And I liked this from the book. It said, if success is measured in life change, we need to be a part of changing lives. If our success is measured in lives changed, right? That's what we want, is kids' lives to be changed. We need to be a part of changing lives. And are we doing that? Are we doing these things that are on the board, our mission, our vision? Are we promoting our values? We have to evaluate ourselves and measure ourselves. And then lastly, we need to submit our dreams and plans to God. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? A lot of people, when we join a ministry, we just think, I'm filling a need, or I'm going to serve for a little while. Are you thinking of the future? Where do you see yourself in children's ministry in the next 5 years? Have you thought about it before? Are you going to be in the same place you're at now? Do you hope to grow? Do you hope to maybe serve in a different area? Which gifts do you want to use? Where do you see your class in the next 5 years? Your small group in the next 5 years? Those kids, your flock that you're serving, where do you see them in the next 5 years? And are you actively pursuing or helping them to achieve those goals? If you're teaching kindergartners, are you thinking about them as 5th graders? Where do you want them to be as 5th graders? And you have to be working towards that with them. Where do you see Kaleidoscope Kids in 5 years? I can't carry the vision myself. I can't carry the dream myself. It's too big. God's given me way too big of a plan to carry myself. So where do you see Kaleidoscope Kids, and how do you see yourself fitting into that? Ask God to give you a vision that is bigger than you are. Because if it's not, you're only going to be working in your own abilities. If it's bigger than you are, then you're going to be staying in step with the Spirit, using His power, and striving after that. And then submit to it. We can ask God for a bigger plan, but then we have to submit to it as well, and be obedient to what God is calling us to do. So that's something I'm going to ask you guys to be doing over these next few months before our next teachers meeting in February, is to evaluate yourself and ask God, what plans do you have for me in the children's ministry? Where do you see it in 5 years? And then submit to it and obey where He's commanding you. So with these things in mind, we're actually going to split up. I'm going to take the Discipletown teachers, and Cindy's going to take the preschool teachers, and we're going to do a little evaluating of our individual classes. With these things in mind, we're going to ask, who are we? Where are we now? Where is our class currently? And how can we do things better? How can we go the next mile? The things that are going to sustain us and keep us going for those 5 years, how can we do them better? We're going to look at our strengths and our weaknesses. So I'm going to dismiss the preschoolers, Cindy and Danielle and Rusty. Thank you for coming into the teaching portion. And Cindy's going to kind of take notes and give me all that info, what you guys talk about. Okay? Wait. Let me make sure you guys get your little mirrors. I don't need 100 meters.
Do a wall with it.
Yeah,
Will you put one in Janine's mailbox? Thank you. Thank you.
Did you say Jen?
All right. So Discipletown, we actually did a review. If you weren't aware, I sent out an email about a month ago asking you to complete a survey, and that survey was for this meeting. And so I got 10 surveys back, which right there evaluates me that we're not all checking our emails or following those. So if you're not getting the emails, please let me know, or if you're having trouble with my C3 Roseville, let me know. But that's, remember, how I'm communicating now, and so I want to make sure you're getting that. But in the survey, I asked you to put your greatest satisfaction, where you get the greatest satisfaction in Discipletown, and your greatest disappointment. And so I'm just going to go through some of these, some of the greatest satisfactions really line up with what we put on the board as far as successes. Watching children grow stronger in their faith and knowledge of God, transformation in children, light bulb moments, I loved that, whoever wrote that, light bulb moments. Seeing children open up and respond, getting to minister to kids, they were all kind of along those same lines. Now some disappointments, I found kind of a common thread through those. Kids are distracted, not enough time with the kids, another not enough time. Missing a connection with the children, not creating relationships, wanting to do better, not knowing how to teach, or lead a small group, and then I had one more puppets. So kind of one of the main things I saw through the disappointments was that not enough time with the kids, not enough time in my small group. I'm not making a connection with the kids in my small group. I'm not building relationships. And really, when I really thought about what we're doing here, this is our mission, but really the vision of the church is to make disciples.
Right.
And if we're making disciples, the first thing that stands out to me is relationship, right? Discipleship is not a sermon.
Right.
Pastor Tim is not discipling each and every person up there. He's teaching them. But you have to have someone who's actively pouring into your life, discipling you, mentoring you, building relationship with you. So it's the same here. I'm not discipling each and every one of these kids just by them coming and hearing a message on Sunday. It's the relationships that they're building that is going to sustain them as they grow. Some of the things that I had you rate, some of the different parts of Discipletown. Some of the things that needed work. 3 people said small groups need work. 4 people said Bible Dash needs work, which if you've seen over the past month, I've been changing it up. I took someone's suggestion, I don't know who it was, but they said about changing the age group, and I've been doing that. So hopefully I answered your request, but it's been working. Worship, 3 people said it needs work, and games, 3 people said it needs work. So, I forgot I had this paper for you guys. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, right in front of me. We can pass these around. So you have the strengths and those things that I just said are right on this paper. So as I started to think about these things, I came up with some questions. How do we fix these problem areas? Can we do things better? How do we fix these areas and do them better? How do we properly steward our time? If one of the biggest complaints was there's not enough time, how do we properly steward our time? And what I realized, one of the biggest things I realized over this past month was that some of these things can't be done the way we're doing Discipletown right now, based on especially our scheduling. If you look at our scheduling right now, it was great the way we started out with Discipletown, but we've been doing Discipletown for 5 or 6 years now, and it's always a good idea to evaluate what we're doing. And right now you can see we have a large group of people, which is awesome, but that's a lot for the kids too. When you think about a child who comes every Sunday, they could have 4 or 5 different adults leading their small group. And is that building relationships? So I know we changed a few months ago so that you had a specific age group every time, but again, if you think about it, that still could be 4 or 5 leaders that the kids are getting. So I'm putting this out there that we are currently evaluating how we do scheduling, and we're testing different ideas. One of the ideas that I've had, that I've addressed with some people, and you'll notice a difference on your schedule, is changing from going to once a month or every other week to actually having some people who are willing to commit to an entire month. They said, I will teach for 1 month, and then the next month they have off. So if you look at your schedule, some of the people, I believe Maria and Ed, have committed to teach all of January in second service. But then they're off in February, and then they'll come back in March. Lauren and Ben said that they would do February. They're both going to teach the entire month of February, but they have January off, and then they'll have March off. March off. So this is something we're trying to see if we notice a difference. It's not something that I'm yet requiring of everyone. It's something that we kind of want to do a slow testing and rollout. It's something that if we were to go to it, we wouldn't start until next fall. We even talked about perhaps taking the summer off and having some different people come in and do something completely different for the summer so that you have those 3 months off to prepare for that next thing. But we thought about it a couple different, things that would help with that. Number one, having a month in here, you would get to really work with the kids, work with your small group. You would know what the lesson is, because how many of you know, I haven't been here for 3 weeks, I don't know what you've been teaching, or you can't continue on next week. You give the kids a challenge, and then, okay, what we doing next week? So you get to build that relationship with the kids, know what's going on. And the same with the sermon then. If you're in here like every other week, you're missing every other week of the sermon upstairs. Hopefully you're getting the CD and listening to the messages, but this way you would have an entire month to sit in the sermon and hear an entire sermon series as well. So these were some of the things that we thought of. We also thought that it would help with scheduling. It's a lot easier to schedule, 6 people for 1 month rather than, I think right now we have like 20 to 25 people that are scheduling every month. And, it's difficult, like for me not knowing, okay, who's on this week, or, who's doing the puppet, who's doing this. And even for some of you, not knowing like, oh man, I forgot it was my week to teach, or I forget where I'm at, or, it's hard to keep up with your schedule like that. So what we thought was, it's not something that I would yet require of everyone, like I said. And we would grandfather people in. So I would say, okay, everyone, next quarter you're all teaching for an entire month. I would never do that to someone. We would work with you. If you say, look, this is all I can give, once a month, that is it. Well, then we'll still have you work in the kids ministry, but maybe, in Disciple Town, but maybe in a different capacity, maybe doing more puppet stuff or helping with the class, maybe putting you more on a sub list, because if someone's teaching for an entire month, you can't switch weeks. So we would have a set sub list, and you would call, from that list to come and sub for you. So these are all different things that I know it's very out there and all at once. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I want to share with you what's been going through my mind and my heart and where I feel God is leading Disciple Town. And so what I want to do, because we've been evaluating and doing all this stuff, I want to meet with each of you. I want to hear your heart, because I get to hear it when you first start working in Disciple Town, but then I don't always get to hear it again. And I want to hear those things we talked about. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see Kaleidoscope Kids? What are your goals in Disciple Town? I want to hear those things. I want to hear your heart. I want to hear if you say, that is the craziest idea I've ever heard. I want you to tell me that. So I'm asking each of you to please schedule a meeting with me sometime before our next teachers meeting, which is February 9th. So schedule a meeting with me November, December, January, anytime in there that's 3 months. Schedule a meeting with me, and so we can talk about these things. And I can share my heart a little more in depth about it, and I can hear your thoughts and responses to it. Yes, Ed?
I just also would really appreciate an evaluation from you.
Okay.
I'd like to hear what you think are my weak points and my strengths, just from your perspective.
Okay.
Maybe we can incorporate that into those meetings.
If someone wants it, I would never put that on someone if they don't want it.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, I just want to know where I'm
Yeah.
because I want
Yeah.
hindsight.
yeah.
It's something I would appreciate.
Okay, that's great to hear though. If that's something that you would appreciate, let me know. When you
I
schedule
like
your
it.
meeting, say, I want, please evaluate what I'm doing too. All right, so I'm gonna put that on you guys. When you make that appointment, let me know what you want to get out of it. Okay? All right. Do I have any questions? Sorry, this meeting did go a little long today. Yes, Paula.
I don't have a question, but I'm so excited about the possibility of once a month.
Okay.
I like the fact that usually they're laid out for a month. And it's
Mhm.
not just a concept. I was memorizing the scripture passage that you challenged the children, but
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear how
Right.
many really rose to the challenge. But more than that, just the individual weeks. You leave me hanging. So I would personally, it's a different thought, but I'd certainly be willing
To
to
try it.
step up and definitely. And then if we know our month, it's easier to plan too.
Right. When you're planning
I like
vacations or things like that, you know. Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So, I'm going to dismiss you guys then with that. Please make sure you make an appointment with me. You can either call me, email me, you can even come tell me right now and we'll set something up, okay? Thank you.